What's up, guys? Welcome back to another video. Hello, cow. It's staring at me and I don't know why. There are a lot of misconceptions, I think, about Cambodia. Some of these misconceptions might have been true at one point but are no longer relevant. Others might be partially true, maybe just not to the extent that some people say, and some aren't true at all. And that's what I want to cover in this video. I'm going to give you 5 examples of things people think about Cambodia that probably aren't as relevant or not true as they once were, or then some people just think. But as always, I'd like to say a big thank you and give a big shout out to all of my supporters. You guys are amazing. I love you guys. I want to thank you for everything that you do. And we're real close to our goal for this month. We only need about $100 more and we'll meet that goal of $350. So I really appreciate it. And if you want to help accomplish that and join the family, there are links down below to my PayPal, Ko-Fi.com, or you can always join my Patreon. But when you do these things, I give back to you. You'll receive a copy of my book, Live in Cambodia, a guide for living in the Kingdom of Wonder. You'll also be put on a list to receive all of my exclusive content throughout the week. This includes at least one exclusive video. And any big updates that happen, any big news, things that go on, well, I like to give them to my supporters first before I put them out on my public channel right here. So do check out the links down below. Each and every donation is appreciated. And I love all of you guys. Now let's get on with the video. Alright. Yeah, I think a lot of times Cambodia is a very misconstrued country. People might be aware of its past and not so much aware of its present and its future and what it has in mind or has in store. And I know there's a lot of people who still can't wrap their heads around living here, you know, like full time, like an expat kind of deal and not just a visitor. But I also read and hear and a lot of things people say about Cambodia that just aren't true, or sometimes, as I said, may have been true at one point, but thanks to advancements are no longer true. So let's get into those, and we'll start with the first thing, which is Cambodia only thinks about the Khmer Rouge. Now, as you know, the genocide did take place over the course of 4 years, about 40 years ago, and about almost 25% of its population was killed during this time, either executed, murdered, starved to death, worked to death. And it's always going to be a part of the history of this country. There's no doubt about that. There are memorials set up, there are places you can visit where you can relive the horror of that time. Not in a celebratory way, but as a chance to remember and help those who lost loved ones grieve. However, for a lot of people, that's all they know about Cambodia. They don't know anything before the Khmer Rouge, and they don't know much about what happened after. And while it is true, it will never be forgotten. It will always be in the memory of the people here. It's absolutely not a huge part of their lifestyle. It's not a huge part of their culture. It's not something they think about every single day of their lives or anything like that. While it's always good to remember the past so we don't repeat it, you know that old saying, Cambodia realizes this, and they move forward more, I think, than the rest of the world has. So if you think you're going to come over here and just listen to horror story after horror story about the genocide that happened, that couldn't be further from the truth. Like I said, there are places you can visit if you want to know more and find out all about its history. There are also several good books you can read about it, but bringing up that subject here is kind of touchy with some people because of the fact they realize the rest of the world might only have that recollection of their country, and they're really looking forward to what's happening now and the freedoms they have and where the country is going in the future. And it's looking really, really good. They're looking forward to when that portion of their history will be just that, a past portion of their history and not the one identifying factor about the country. So that's misconception number one about Cambodia. The second misconception people have about Cambodia is that there are landmines everywhere and it's not safe to walk most places in the country. Now again, that's one of those that is kind of true. There are still a lot of landmines and unexploded ordnance littered around the countryside from those Khmer Rouge days. Since every country involved was kind of just planting them unmapped, it is kind of hard to determine where they all are. But through years and years and years of effort by very brave and professional people, a lot braver than me going out looking for landmines, most areas in the major cities have been completely cleared, and areas where they suspect landmines might be are all very widely blocked off. They have signs telling people don't cross this, there might be landmines over here. And while it's true people do still die of landmines every year, the problem isn't as big or widespread anymore as people think. In fact, their initiative is to be landmine free by 2025, and they are on track to accomplish that. They have doubled their efforts to be sure that gets done. And hopefully very soon we won't have to hear every so often of an unexploded ordnance in somebody's rice field that was left unnoticed, that was accidentally detonated and injured or killed somebody. And I hope that day comes very soon. But as far as people thinking anywhere you go in Cambodia, you have to watch every single step you take, you have to look for wires or little projectiles sticking out of the sand because there's going to be landmines wherever you go, that's again a misconception some people have that just right now is only partially true in very remote rural areas, and for the majority of the country as of right now you don't have to worry about getting your legs blown off or getting blown up by a landmine. So that's the second misconception people have about Cambodia. The third misconception is about food. First, that if you eat here, you're going to get food poisoning. And second, all the food they have here are just borrowed from neighboring countries like Vietnam and Thailand. And neither of those things is true. The food here, very safe to eat, even the street food. And if you think about it, that makes sense. You pull up to a street food stall, get something to eat, you're going to be able to watch them cook. You can determine their hygiene for yourself. If anything looks too funky to you, just go on to the next place. But food poisoning is not a big deal here. There are occasional parties where a number of participants do get food poisoning. But as far as the street stalls and the restaurants, you're safe. It doesn't make sense for people, for the vendors, to just ignore the food, not care about the quality, not care about the hygiene, and then get a lot of people sick, in which case they won't have a business anymore. And while it is true, you might come over here and experience tastes and eat things your body is not accustomed to. Your body might reject some of those things. And yeah, you might even get sick, and technically you could call it food poisoning. But generally, I mean, the few times it's happened to me, it wasn't about the food. It's like my body just didn't know how to handle those kind of bacteria. We don't have those back in the United States. We don't have those things. And the dogs are going nuts. And as far as this as far as the claim that Cambodia's food is, you know, just variations of Thai and Vietnamese food, that's also not true. They might borrow ideas and concepts, but they make it Cambodia's own. A lot of the old recipes from way back when were lost during the Khmer Rouge, since as I said earlier, 25% of the population was killed in some form or another, and that was largely all the elders, people who were handing down traditions. So some of those traditions and meals and recipes got lost, but they're now being rediscovered. And you can take almost any kind of food here that's cooked by a local, and they put their own spin on it, their own twist. I mean, it's possible here to find Thai food, Vietnamese food, but Cambodian food is fresh. It's very filling, it's very tasty, and not quite as spicy as its neighboring countries. You can always add more spices if you want, or more chilies. But I have no problem with the local food. I love the local food. Everybody knows this. I love those cheap little food stalls and noodle places in the local markets. You can go get a big delicious bowl of noodles with all kinds of stuff in there. Fresh herbs, fresh vegetables. You can smell the aroma when it's brought to your table for like $1, $1.25. It's fantastic. And even the things we would associate with the more popular variations of from the neighboring countries, they put their own spin on there, their own ingredients. And so Cambodia does have local food has a very unique Khmer flavor, style, preparation, all that good stuff. And no, it's not going to kill you. If it smells good, try it. That's my philosophy. I've eaten things I don't even know what it was or what was in it. But it smells good, I'm going to eat it. And over 4 years later, look, I'm still alive. You have nothing to be afraid of here. Make your foodie dreams come true. And that's the third misconception about Cambodia. The fourth misconception about Cambodia is that everybody is poor. And it's almost like a devastated, war-torn country. And that's one that's really not true. They come a long way over the past 40 years. There are modern apartment facilities. They have swimming pools. Hello. There are swimming pools. Wi-Fi is readily available anywhere. If you walk all over Siem Reap. It's okay, buddy. If you walk all over Siem Reap with your Wi-Fi locator on, there's not a spot where you can't find 4 or 5 different Wi-Fi hotspots there. It's getting more modern every day. They keep updating not only the Wi-Fi but the infrastructure. This past year, it's taught me anything. It's that these 38 road projects that took a whole year of walking around in a dusty, hazy mess, but are now almost fully completed. That they're always willing to put money into being more modern and getting things more up to standards with the rest of the world. They try to do so while still respecting their culture and tradition. And so far that's been working great. And not everybody here is poor. There is a growing middle class. Exports are a huge business here. People who get in on the tourism sector and own businesses there. The last 2 years not so great, but now they're expanding. They're opening up again. And you can expect to see a lot more of that, I think. So yeah, there is a middle class here. There are richer people, but of course poverty is still quite an issue. There are many, many impoverished people, especially out in the villages, people without formal education. What we got here? Hey, Zanglai.
Banana.
Hello. Banana?
Yeah.
She was back at the apartment.
Look at her.
Trying to give me a banana. But,
Yeah. Tree.
But anyway, that's the 4th misconception about Cambodia, is that everybody is poor and the country is basically a hole in the ground. That is absolutely not true. And finally, the 5th misconception about Cambodia that I've read about and still hear about sometimes. People call it the dollar store of the East. Now again, that one comes partially true, because once the Khmer Rouge was over and they a few years later opened back up for tourism and international travelers, it was more of the wild, wild west vibe here. Dirt roads, squat buildings, indoor plumbing, hardly. But to appeal to foreigners to come here, everything was really cheap. It was possible to find almost anything here for $1 or less, and that's why you got the nickname the dollar store of the East. Now if you visited before, let's say you visited 2015, 2016 and come back now, you're going to see that, like everywhere else, inflation hits, prices go up. And that's a very common thing. Prices have gone up on a lot of things since I've been here, just in the last 4 years. And as always, people mutter and complain, well, if these prices keep going up, people aren't going to want to live here anymore, and we're going to move to another country, and blah, blah, blah. The blowhards. But the thing is, it hasn't gone up that much. It might have cost you $1 before, now it's going to cost you $1.25. It used to cost $1.25, now it might cost $1.50, $1.75. And it's not that significant, all right? And you can go move to any other country you want, and you're going to find the same thing. I mean, listen, when the price of chicken goes up in a restaurant that makes chicken burgers that they used to sell for $1, what do you think is going to happen? They have to make a profit. They have to make a profit, and they're not going to be $1 anymore. They're going to be maybe $1.25 or $1.50. Still going to be a delicious sandwich. It's still going to be way cheaper than back home. That's just the way things roll. Not just here. Again, all over the world. So that perception I try to get rid of is that it's a very, very cheap place to live. It's very, very affordable. Much cheaper than anywhere I know back west, back home. But it's not necessarily you can get everything for $1 or less. You know. And I realize when people made those videos, they made them from a time when that was possible, but now it's just not true. But it's still going to be way, way, way less expensive than it would be back in the West. But beside that, even if the prices do have to go up because of inflation, if that's the only reason you're staying here, it's a good reason, don't get me wrong. I love the affordability, but if that's the only reason, then maybe it's not for you anyway. You know, you should pick a place to live based on many factors, and price is important, obviously. Money is the world's currency. We all need it, you know, blah, blah, blah. But hopefully that's not your main overall factor. There's many, many more reasons to love Cambodia. As a matter of fact, I put them in a video, 5 reasons why you should move to Cambodia. Check down on my videos and you'll find that one. Alright, so there you have it. 5 misconceptions about Cambodia. It's getting more clean and more modern every passing day. The food is quick. You can get it anywhere, any time of day, and it's delicious, and it's not going to make you sick. Yes, the Khmer Rouge happened, but they got much, much more important things to think about for the future while never forgetting. Yes, there is a middle class here. There are people with a lot more money than what you might think because they've educated themselves, they worked, they've done the job, and now they're reaping the benefits. And no, you can't get everything here for $1 or less. Hey, if you've been here before, or if you've heard some things about Cambodia you don't think are true, leave them in the comments down below and then let me know. Also, be sure to like this video, subscribe if you have not, and share if you want to. And check out all my links down below. As I said, you can find links to my PayPal, Ko-Fi.com, or join my Patreon. Get a free copy of my book and be put on the list. You'll receive my weekly exclusive videos and other stuff. Also, other channels I like that are vlogging in this area of the world, those are all down below. Be sure to check those out. Good channels with good information. All my other links for my social medias are down below. My blog, my Dave Does Cambodia Facebook page, and other interesting things that you should check out and peruse. And if you find any broken links, please let me know and I will fix them as soon as possible. Alright, from Siem Reap, Cambodia, I'm going to eat some nice fried bananas. I'll talk to you guys in the next one.